Hey, all of you beautiful humans. Are you ready to find happiness? Welcome back to another episode of the Search for Serotonin podcast, the show all about destigmatizing mental illnesses, dismantling society's version of perfection, and helping you to find your own meaning of happiness. Join me, your host, Carolyn Farrick, as I have open, honest, and vulnerable conversations about my own mental health and my diagnosis with OCPD, a perfectionism personality disorder. We all deserve to find happiness on our own terms, and we don't need to find happiness alone. So welcome to the Search Committee. What's up, podcast people out there? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, you guys. Honestly, I have been trying to do this intro for a couple minutes and I'm just at the point where I'm like, you know what? I can't, and that's okay. So I am coming at you for another week of season 2 of the Search for Serotonin, and I'm so excited to get back to the new format that we're doing, some new segments that we're incorporating for season 2. So if you are new here or you have missed season 2, episode 1, go back and check that out because it does really set up what direction we're going to be going in this season. But for all of those of you who did listen to last week's episode, you guys know that I have been going through it. I was talking about, having COVID and coming out of depression and just not feeling super great or super like myself. So a lot has happened in this past week since I last sat down to record. Um, a lot of reflection and internal, thinking and processing and going over of everything. So yeah, this past week was really just me focusing on, getting consistent with taking my medication. That was something I was like, I can't not do anymore. That is the main number one thing that I know is going to help me. And so once I started taking my medicine consistently for a couple of days, I started to kind of feel the effects of that, started to kind of come out of the depression. So, like when you're depressed, you see everything in like black and white. Everything's very dull. Everything's very gray. You're just trying to get, through the day and through the next day and just, going through the motions and not really giving a shit about anything really. And so when I started to feel the effects of taking my medicine consistently again, it honestly was very refreshing. It really did feel like, there was air in my lungs again, like I could finally breathe and that, this weight had been like lifted off my shoulders. I didn't feel like everything was so exhausting anymore. Every problem that would come up, I'm like, "Oh wait, this isn't as drastic as I had made it like seem before." And, just having that feeling of like, oh my God, like the world seems so colorful again. There's so much hope and there's so many things that I, want to do right now and like use my energy towards. Um, but then also at the same time, I'm feeling all the good effects of the medicine, but I'm also, um, feeling the bad effects still because like I said last week, my not so great symptoms get heightened the first couple weeks while I readjust to everything. So I definitely was also getting like super in my head, super anxious, like crying about everything, like all of this emotion that just had been so suppressed because I was so numb for a couple months that it just all finally kind of came out. And it was actually kind of nice. This is weird to say, but it was actually kind of nice that, this is all happening at the same time that I got COVID because, this time of getting on my medication, like I know I've said in the past, like, that time felt different or, I was like feeling different and this was going to change. But this time it really just feels like my eyes were opened um, to a whole new way of going about things. And it's, like people say when you have like a moment of clarity, like it was always there, it was always in front of your eyes, but it doesn't hit you until it hits you. And once it does, it honestly makes so much sense. Like, how did I not see this before kind of deal? But that's kind of where I was at this past week. And in the reflection that I did and, thought about how I acted, what I said, what my emotions were like. I realized that during the last couple months, I wasn't super proud of how I acted or treated some of the people in my life. And so I wanted to figure out a way to almost make up for that. But I, wanted to try something that I'd never done before. And so, I kept thinking about it. I kept thinking about it. And then, I started reading some of my books again, like self-help books, and I started reading a chapter in the morning and journaling and sitting outside and just trying to get myself out of my normal habits, which I'd fallen into. And I was trying to find some more productive and positive ways of feeling my feelings. So I was like, why not read something and then journal and see what feelings come out from that? And so a word that I kept seeing when I journaled was like accountability. And I was like, that's something that, I feel like I really have never taken the chance to do when I'm, more stable than when I'm depressed, is the fact that I, don't own my actions and I don't ever say to people, hey, like, I'm sorry that I was like this. And, it's like because I was depressed or my mental health was bad, but I don't want that to be an excuse for, you know, how I acted. And so what I did is, I journaled about it, I thought about it, and honestly, I was like, this is something that I think I need to do overall in the theme of my own therapy and mental health process. And where I'm at right now is, I also in my everyday life, even when it doesn't come to like, how I'm interacting with the people in my life, I'll set goals for myself and then I'll talk about it and I'll tell people and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it this time. This time it's going to be like, you know, this way, or I'm going to actually do it. And then I don't ever follow through with it. So that's why I was like, I need to put the action behind the words that I'm saying. And so I was like, why don't I just, write down all the stuff that I want to tell people, make a list of people I want to apologize to. That included, my sisters, my mom, my boyfriend, just people in my life that maybe I have been pushing away or, kind of taking this thing, like these things out on that they don't really deserve it. So I just wanted to in person kind of say like, "Hey, I'm sorry for how I acted, but I don't want this to be like, oh, you need to pity me or this isn't an excuse, but what I need is for me to hold myself accountable and, apologize for what happened, own the ugly shit, face it head on, but then, just say I'm going to try and do better, and what I've learned in all of my journaling and all the stuff that I did this week, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more here in a second, but something I learned is that when you're trying to make changes in your life and you're trying to take action on your life and you're trying to hold yourself accountable, it all comes down to, your inner beliefs and your subconscious beliefs and the words you use in your life. So I was saying, I want to try and do better. I'm just going to tell them I'm going to try and do better. But I realized that I need to say, I'm not going to try anymore. I can do better. I will do better. I am doing better right now. So, it's taking that mind frame of, oh, this is an option. So I might, or I want to, or I'm going to try and make it, something that's non-negotiable. You're going to do it and things are going to be hard and, it might make you uncomfortable and push you out of your comfort zone. But like, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting it to work. And so, you know, I think we all could own our shit a little bit better, in all aspects of our life, but we also need, more space for people to grow and learn and figure out, what's going on and we need to hold space for people, but you have to hold space for yourself first. So that is kind of, the journey that I went through in my mindset. And so, as you guys have seen, the episode title is My Apology Tour 2022. So I have been actively apologizing to people in my life this week. And obviously, the people in my life have been very supportive. They always tell me, don't worry about it. We understand, we've been like, you've been through this before. We get it. We get it. And people just want me to, be okay and know that, like, we don't hold it against you. Um, but I also, for myself and in my own mental health journey and my growth and me moving forward, I need to also, take that step and show up and hold the same space for them. And so I want to do better for myself and show them that I can do better for myself. So, I can also be someone that they can count on in their lives, because I don't want to continuously be the person that, oh, I'm, going through something. I'm like, feeling like I'm, you know, not dependable or not someone people can count on or someone people might be afraid to reach out to because, they don't know how I might respond. And so that's kind of, the mindset that I was in, that I was like, I just want to actually just prove to even myself that I can do better. So that was kind of my journey this week. Something else that I decided to really dive into this week, it's something I've been talking about doing for a long time and not actually holding myself accountable, is that I wanted to do the subconscious work. Because if you guys listen to season one, if you guys have heard, I have done therapy, I've done medication, I've done all of that kind of stuff. I've done journaling, I've done those kinds of things. And I've exhausted like the conscious work of mental health. And I'm always like, okay, I've done the conscious work, I can change, I'm going to do better, I'm going to feel better. And I still get stuck in the same, mindset, the same patterns, the same intrusive thoughts, the same dark places that I tell myself, oh, we know not to go there, but we can't help it, and I don't know how to stop it. And so that's what really intrigued me about subconscious work, is because I was always afraid to dive into that because I didn't understand it. But fortunately enough, I had a lot of really knowledgeable guests on for season one who talked so much about subconscious work. So we did an episode on EFT tapping with Maria. We did an episode on hypnosis with Rachel. We had April Adams on to talk about subconscious work. Helen, if you didn't listen to her interview, she talks a lot about self-compassion and how, the subconscious works allows you to get to a place of finding self-compassion for yourself. So through all of those really great conversations, and talking to knowledgeable professionals, I actually learned more about the subconscious. And when I was interviewing these people, in my mind, I was telling them, oh, thank you for this resource, or thank you for this information. I've been wanting to do this. So thank you so much. And then I'd edit the episode, post the episode, and I would never check out their free resources or never sit down and start like watching the YouTube videos on EFT tapping. And I would always make up some excuse why I couldn't, or it was going to be too hard, or, I need to focus on like finding more guests or finding new episode contents. I don't have time to work on my subconscious work. I just don't have time. But that was just the excuse I was telling myself. And that was, a result of me not taking my medication and me, letting myself sink into the darkness and the bad thoughts that I've continuously thought my whole life. So like I said, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and like a month or so ago, I joined like a Facebook group, and some lady was doing some like free 5-day boot camp on like manifestation. And a lot of people think that manifestation is all like woo woo and a bunch of like BS. But I am somebody who is, very open to where I'm at, with the way of doing things. Nothing that I've done in the past has really worked. So, I got to push myself out of my comfort zone, and manifestation has always been something that I have gravitated toward. But the first day, she gave us like a homework assignment, and it was like a manifestation assignment. And I didn't think it would work. And, for like 24 hours, or for like 20 hours of the 24 hours that I was supposed to kind of ask for this manifestation, I didn't believe it and I didn't think it was going to happen. But then, I finally was just like, I don't even care anymore if it happens, like whatever. And then literally at like the last hour of the 24-hour thing, I was manifesting, like, happened, and so not to say that it's magic, it wasn't like, I was thinking like, "Oh, I want a car," and then, like, I won a car. It's not like that. It was, more of like she asked, like, "Be open to a gift and, ask the universe to give you a sign that it's a gift," and all this kinda stuff. But it worked, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was kinda cool." Like, that made me feel good, it made me feel different, it kind of helped me release control a little bit, which is hard to do as a perfectionist. Um, but I was like, these are the things that I want to work on, is just being more, positive, being more mindful. And just I wanted to feel like, the world wasn't happening to me, like I was happening to the world kind of deal, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's kind of confusing, but I wanted to try it and I knew she was going to sell something, but I was also, in that point where I was like, I need to feel something again. I need to give myself something to like work towards or learn, or I need to push myself and like do something to change my habits. So, I have something to fill my time with so I don't fall off the track of getting it, like taking my medicine or, helping me as a person grow and improve my mental health. So I signed up for the course. Long story short, I put it off for weeks. I was like, I don't have time. I just don't, I'm going to start it. I'm going to start it, but I never did. And so this week I was like, all right, let's start doing it. And she gives you like a whole thing for every week of the year for 52 weeks. You get a different manifestation prompt. And then over the course of the year, you start making changes in your life and you change the way you think. And I was like, that's just like so a lot right now because there's so many extras and so many like different documents that you need. And so I was like, let me just start small because she offered like a bonus class and it was like, you can be rich in 30 days. I was like, okay, I'm always shit with money. Like, let me start there. And so I started doing like 3 days of prompts, just like every day. It was like 4-minute audio recording. And then you write down some things like one question in your journal or on my notes. And after 3 days of just, like, doing those simple activities, it took me 10 minutes a day. I literally was also just, like, releasing a lot around money and some of the, like, ideas that I had in my head and some childhood experiences that I forgot about surrounding money came up, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." Like, I'm starting to feel different. I'm starting to remember, like, why I'm saying all of these things in my head that are negative and, not getting me anywhere or not improving my situation. And not only did it bring that up with money, but it brought it up with a lot of other areas in my life. And so I started doing that. And so I'd wake up in the morning and I'd go down to my porch swing and I'd fill up a jar of water and, go sit outside, and I would take the book that I was reading, my journal, and then my laptop so then I could read a chapter, journal about it, do a couple money prompts, and then I did that for a couple of days. And then I was like, "You know what? Let's take it a step further." I've been saying I wanna do EFT tapping. Maria, who I interviewed, she has a 30-day free course for EFT tapping on YouTube. So I was like, "Let me pull that up. Let me give that a try." And I've always heard everyone say so many good things about EFT tapping, but I finally tried it for myself and it was really nice. I actually really liked it. And it was like kind of at first you're kind of like, "What's going on here? What am I doing?" But the more you get into it, the more fun you have with it. Because I was like, saying these things and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is, like, weird for me to say." But then I started to, like, say it like I was, believing it, and it would make me laugh because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god, I've never believed this before." I've never felt, like, different, like, "Oh, I can do things or things can be better or I can take back control and, you know, find a way to do it that I know I'm not gonna, like, go back from." And so, I've been really diving into that this week, but yeah, I wanted to share that with all of you because, like I said, last week I was super depressed, I was not doing great, I was sick, but if I had to compare where I was last week versus where I am now, it's just been a really big jump. So that is a super long recap of what I've been doing and my week. But I just wanted to fill you guys in on the subconscious work and my process of coming out of a depression because I do want to be more transparent about these things. And I also want you guys to kind of go on that process of me or that journey with me of me working through subconscious work because I think it's something a lot of people they hear and they're like, I don't know what that means and it sounds too difficult and I'm not going to really learn more about that, but honestly, like I've heard people that I interviewed say, "Oh, I did this subconscious work activity and it really changed my life and my experiences." And so I'm at a point where I'm like, I've got nothing left to lose, so why not fuck around and actually do it and hold myself accountable? So, that is it for the weekly check-in, and let's get ready for therapy. Thank you, guys. It's time for Therapy Think, a segment all about destigmatizing mental health through therapy. During this segment, I will give you a sneak peek inside of my weekly therapy sessions and share what I took away from therapy this week. All right, so this week in therapy, my lovely therapist Tina and I had a really therapeutic conversation, and it was a lot of realization. So, I was telling her about, starting to read again, starting to take care of myself again, starting to do things that, I enjoy doing, like, going golfing or just going and getting out of the house or, just random things that make you feel alive. Like, just the everyday things that the little moments, that I wasn't appreciating or wasn't looking at as a positive experience in my life. And so, I was saying all of these new things that I was getting out and doing since I was, feeling motivated and I wasn't in my head so much. And she really talked about how, she's like, that's you feeding your inner child. And, that's really what you have to connect with because your inner child is your utmost source of joy. And, if you've heard my previous episodes from where I was at last year when I started the podcast, connecting with my inner child in a positive way had really helped me. Um, and it's something that I let go of. And so minding myself to, lean into those things of doing what I like, making myself feel good, having those moments in my day that I look forward to that are just for me because, it's something that I love to do to make me feel good and take care of myself. So she was like, you need to remember, those moments are the moments to live for. And so something I've started doing also is I've kind of pulled back on Instagram this past week as well on the podcast page just because I was posting, on a strategy and I was like I have to post these days and even if I don't feel like posting, we have to get something out. Um and before I realized it, the podcast page was all graphics and no actual image of my life or what I was really fucking going through. So I was like, "Why not just stop making the graphics? Every week you bitch about making the graphics. You're like, "I don't wanna do this. This is so exhausting." And, I never feel great about it, even though I'm good at it and I can do it. But the point of them, like, the whole story is that I want to start just taking pictures, taking videos in the moments that I feel alive, just going about my day, not thinking that, oh, I have to make a reel or oh, I have to post on Instagram. Just like capturing the little things that I'm like, this moment is mine and mine alone. And I want to live in that and I want to have that documentation because I only used to document like when you go out to dinner or when you go out to drinks or, you do something exciting or you buy something new, like, I feel like I stopped posting the little moments. And so I was like, let's get back to that, let's just get back to focusing on what I like doing. And if I remember to take a picture, then cool. If not, it's my moment and no one else gets to see that and they don't have entitlement to that. So that was something I talked about. And, I was telling Tina, it really feels good to like have that joy again, have that want to do things again. And I came to the realization in all of my journaling and just working through all of this shit that's been coming up is that, I have been making myself really small for a long time. So I was like, I don't want to make myself feel small anymore. I don't want to live in a box. I don't want to, go unnoticed through life anymore. I don't want to try and like avoid taking up space by making myself feel so, inconvenient and so tiny. And so, I got to a point in therapy where I was just going on about these emotions. And I was like, I've started to do these things that have made me feel good again. I've started setting goals, things that I've wanted to work towards for years, and I want to start working back towards those big goals again. And once again, taking those small steps to hold myself accountable and keep moving forward. So then this time I can actually get what I want. And I was like, I don't want to be ashamed for wanting it all. I was like, I want to get everything I've ever wanted. I don't want to feel guilty about it. I want to know that, I can be who I want to be. And I was like, I want to be a maximalist, I just want it all. I want to have it all. And for the first time in my life, I'm like, I don't think that's selfish anymore. And so, Tina, the godsend that she is, she just sits there and takes it all in and she lets me get my rants out. And then she goes, just, takes a big pause and she sits there and then she looks at me and she goes, well, it just sounds like you want to live loud. And that really like just like smacked me in the face almost because I don't know, it was like what I've been like feeling all along that I was holding inside that I'm like, yes, I want to live loud. Yes, I want to live this life. Yes, I want to reach for these crazy goals that I used to set for myself because, anything was possible and the world wasn't a terrible shithole that was so scary all the time. And so just having her say that and just me feeling like for the first time I was like recognized and seen and I could fully own this part of my life that I wanted to live and not feel ashamed for it. And so of course I bawled like a baby, I cry. I cry all the time and I'm not afraid of that. And that's what the fuck therapy is for. So long story short, that really just like yeah, that made me feel good, and I was like, "That's my new motto going forward," "I'm gonna live loud." Yeah, that's kind of where we left therapy, that I'm liking my subconscious journey. I'm trying to figure it out in real time with all of y'all, and it's fucking draining. People don't talk about that enough, but it exhausts you. Like, it pulls a lot of, like, energy out of you, and, like, I've been so dehydrated because, I'm like, I have to drink more water because it just, like, does take, like, an effect on your body, but I've also started to feel, like, so much lighter and so much more, like, relaxed, and I'll find myself like, I'll find myself in moments that if I would have been in a week ago, I would have been panicking and spiraling and in my head. But now I'm able to look at those moments and be like, wait, we don't have to go there. We don't have to go down that path. Like, we can think about something else, or we can change this, or we can do something else. And so I don't know. It's finally feeling like I can actually take a step back and actually assess everything that's been going on in my life, um, and finally start piecing some things together. So that is what I learned in therapy this week. I cannot wait to see what Tina and I dive into next week. And that is going to be all for today's Therapy Think segment. Now it's time for Mental Media, a segment that aims to dismantle society's version of perfection by discussing trending news stories and how they pertain to mental health. If it's trending, then we're chatting about it. So, this week for Mental Media, I wanted to just do a Google search, see what articles I could find, and I looked up mental health news articles this week. And actually, one of the articles that I found pretty quickly was, let me see here. Do I have who it was from? Yeah, so it was an NPR article and it was titled, Digital Minimalism. And I was like, okay, this is interesting because even though, in my last segment, I was saying, I want to be a maximalist, I want to have it all. Um, I've also expressed that I want to start, not posting as much on social media and only posting when I feel like I want to, or I feel like there's something I want to share instead of just forcing myself to post 3 times a week. And so I was like, digital minimalism sounds pretty on brand with that. Let's give this article a dive. And so it was essentially talking about how you can engage with the world in a way that makes sense and is intentional for you and appropriate for you. Um, as we all know, social media is an addiction. So, one of their first recommendations was to set boundaries. There's a great feature in the settings app where you can set specific time limits on specific apps or certain, types of apps. So, social media as a whole, if you only want to spend 2 hours a day on social media, you can include all your social apps and set that time limit. Another thing that I think was cool that they recommended was deleting apps. And then, maybe delete all your apps, take a little break from social media for a week. And then, once you are up with that social free week, then maybe you re-download Instagram and only do Instagram intentionally for a week. And then the next week you re-download, TikTok, and then you do Instagram and TikTok, and then you kind of build it back up into a way that, makes sense for you. And now that you've kind of broke it down, you have these boundaries in place that you're like, okay, I don't need to be on it as much as I was. Another great suggestion, which is talked about so much, is do not take your phone to bed. My boyfriend and I actually just had this conversation because in the past couple weeks, he's also been trying to better his life and make good decisions. Something he struggles with his ADHD, especially, is never wanting to eat. Um, and I am also just have poor eating habits. So I'm like, why don't we just, do something about that? So he was like, let's meal prep and let's start taking that into consideration and just planning out all of our meals. So then that way we don't have the excuse of, oh, well, we don't feel like cooking, or it's too hot to cook, or we're too tired. It's all just ready, grab and go kind of set up kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, so Corbin was also helping me brainstorm ways to try and incorporate some healthier and better habits into our life. Um, and something that, he mentions to me is you really should put your phone away from you at night, because especially during my reintegrating with my medication process, um, I tend to wake up in the middle of the night randomly, or I'll have to just get up and go to the bathroom just because I need to move around because I'm awake. And instead of just laying back down and trying to go to sleep, it'll be 2:30, it'll be like 4 AM, it'll be whatever ungodly hour that my brain wakes me up. And I'll immediately just be like, "Oh, I have a notification, so let me just clear it." But then I'll see something else and I'm like, "Oh, let me check that social app." And then I'm like, "Oh, wait, I saw something on this social app that I forgot to look up earlier. Let me pull up Google and start going down a rabbit hole." And then, the next thing you know, you're scrolling on Twitter and it's 6 in the morning and you're like, "Shit, I wanted to go back to sleep, but now I don't have the time because I have so many other things to do today." So, he was like, "You definitely need to stop putting your phone by the bed and get out of that habit." So that is something that they recommended as well. And they told you to take, into account how you feel when you scroll on social. Are you anxious? If you are, maybe you need to unfollow some accounts that are making you feel like shit and find some new accounts that make you feel good. So, like I said, Corbin and I have been setting goals in our life. And something that we've talked about for a good portion of our relationship is that we both love to travel, and we haven't really been able to do that since the pandemic. But something we also have really wanted to do is also just move out of PA, move out of Pittsburgh. We've always wanted to go somewhere else, try something new, when we're young, have this experience and, just go live somewhere else. So we started, you know, I started unfollowing Pittsburgh accounts or Pennsylvania accounts, you know, not all of them, just some of them that I'm like, I never go to this place. Why am I even following them? And I started following restaurants in the place that we're looking to move. And so I'm like, okay, I'll start with the restaurants. And then more like museums popped up. And then, like local farmers markets were following me because they found me through the algorithm. And so I've been doing a lot of that on my own personal social, is unfollowing old people who I don't talk to anymore. I maybe have like bad history with or something like that. I'm like, I don't need to see you post your puppy or, your drinks every weekend. So let me just replace that with, these new accounts that I can help myself get inspired by and look forward to, because I'm like, the more I see it, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, I can move sooner. So that was a great recommendation that I have personally used that I thought would be good to share. Um, they also said, like, instead of when you're taking those breaks from social and instead of like picking up your phone, like if you find yourself reaching for your phone, say, "No, I'm not gonna go on my phone right now. I'm gonna go do a hobby." So they said, reinvest in your hobbies. My hobbies for me is I really like cooking. It's really great for my anxiety, for my perfectionism, my need for control. Like it's nice because I can follow a recipe. I don't have to think about it, but I also have the ability to take my creative liberties. So being in the kitchen is something I love. Reading, journaling, like I said, all of that stuff that I've been doing again this week that I do enjoy and it makes me feel good. Um, so anytime you're like finding yourself just numbingly scrolling for hours, just say, let's put this down and try something else, that isn't a screen. And yeah, so those were all of the tips that I really listed from the article. I thought it was a good read and it was a nice way to say, you can still be active on social media. You don't have to cut it out completely, but you don't need to let it control your life anymore. So that article will be linked in the show notes. So you guys can go ahead and read that article for yourself. And as always, I encourage you to do your own research. How I interpret things can be different than how you might interpret things, or you might be looking for something else that I'm not looking for. So just always do your own research. I, again, am not a professional. I'm just somebody doing my own personal research and sharing my own stories, and I encourage you all to do the same. Our final segment of the week is Serotonin Script. This segment is all about filling your weekly prescription of serotonin. I will share what sparked serotonin in my life this week to hopefully inspire you to find your own version of happiness. If you want to share how you searched for your weekly dose of serotonin, then DM at the Search for Serotonin on Instagram to be featured on next week's segment of Serotonin Script. This week, my weekly dose of serotonin was actually a nice surprise, because it's something that, I see so often and you know, it's a part of my daily routine, but like I said, I never took the time to notice it or appreciate it or realize the value behind it. And this week, Corbin and I, we were on our way home from Home Depot because we've been doing some home renovation projects, cleaning up some stuff that we've been talking about cleaning up since we moved in like over a year ago. So, just finally taking the steps to do that stuff, we got some supplies and it was like Monday night and we were coming home and we pulled in front of our house and across the street there's a woman who lives in the house across the street and it's just a small little house, nothing crazy, nothing elaborate, but she has the most beautiful yard in all of our neighborhood. She has a beautiful garden, so many flowers, like, she has these, like, beautiful yellow flowers all over right now. She has, bushes, she has trees, she has yard decorations, and it's all perfectly kept. And if you ever see animals in our neighborhood, like deer, bunnies, squirrels, whatever, even cats, like there'll be cats in her yard. So she just always like attracts animals and wildlife and nature, and like her garden is just like I said beautiful to look at. And so I was just, realizing, oh my god, I live right across the street from one of the most beautiful gardens like I've ever seen in, a small house. And for the space she has, like it's really full and it's really welcoming and it's very like beautiful to look at and just take into account. And every day, I'll see her in her yard working on her lawn, working on her garden. She also walks up and down the street and picks up garbage. And so she is very active and she continues to do this every single day. But something that I forget a lot is my neighbor's husband is also in a nursing home full time. So she lives in this house completely by herself. And my boyfriend and I, like we said, we live across the street. So sometimes at night when, I'm turning off our lights, we always see that, her lights stay on all night. And, this moment when I'm recognizing her garden and its beauty, and I'm thinking, oh my God, yeah, she has this beautiful garden, but her husband lives in a nursing home and she lives all alone. And I was thinking about it, I was like, if I was her age and I, like, had that situation and Corbin was in a nursing home, I was like, I don't think I would know what to do, like, I would be so depressed, like, I wouldn't even be able to get out of bed, like, I wouldn't know how to even, like, function, because 'cause I'm like, that's just so difficult and so sad because I've seen what my parents have gone through with their parents and, how hard that can be on a person and especially seeing it with someone you love. Um but I was like, "Wait, no, that's not sad, it's inspiring." Because every day, regardless of all of the regardless of her situation, regardless of the negative thoughts she might be feeling, regardless of if she wants to get up and do the day or not, she still gets up and she does her garden and she says hello to everyone that passes and she walks up and down the street and picks up trash. And every day she does this despite, all of the other stuff that she has going on. And like I said, I thought it was inspiring because she doesn't let this terrible situation or difficult situation that life has presented to her stop her from living. And she has something extremely beautiful and positive that she's channeled all of these negative things into. And she chose every day to do something that was bigger than herself because, it's not only her that gets to enjoy this garden. Everybody in our neighborhood, they get to see it. Everybody who passes by, you can't not look at it. And so the fact that she continues to just get up and continue to do the things she loves, continue to do the things that she's always done, I don't know if she's always done it. I've only lived here in a year, but I'd assume, it's something that she enjoys if she does it every single day. Um, but yeah, so I think we all should be a little more like my neighbor Lil because she is really out here doing the damn thing every day. And like I said, if I was her age, I would be hiding from the world. I would be angry, I'd be upset, but it just reminded me that that's why we keep going. That's why we keep growing because, one day it's not going to be as hard. And one day, things are going to get better. And so working towards that and taking it one day at a time and just doing the things that make you feel good um, is a really positive thing for all of us to hear. So this week, if you are in a low moment, just think, what would Lil do? All right, serotonin searchers, that is all that we have for this week. I hope you guys are enjoying season two. Like I said, I'm just coming to you where I'm at each week, just really trying to be more transparent, really dive into what I'm working on and how I am trying to better myself because let's be honest, I could use it. But if you are liking the podcast, feel free to check us out on YouTube. We're on YouTube now. I put the edited video recordings on YouTube. So if you are someone who likes to watch podcasts and see the person talk, you can now see my face on YouTube every single week. So go over and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you guys are liking the episodes, like I said, if you're enjoying the new content, please, please, please go rate and review on Spotify. Tell me which segment's your favorite. Tell me what you want to hear next. I really just want to make this season as beneficial to you guys as I can. So, all right, I will see you all back here next Monday for another episode and another update for what's going on and how I am searching for serotonin in my own life. All right, you guys, I love you all. I'll see you next week. And always remember to live loud.